How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Sprint has quite a few awesome Android handsets. You know, the Galaxy S2 is finally in the States, and the nation's third largest carrier is the first one to get it. Here it is, the Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch. It's going up against the Motorola Photon 4G in this dogfight. Former top champion here just got dethroned on PhoneDog's top smartphone list by the Epic 4G Touch. Which one's really the best? Which one's the best for you? Which one offers the best combination of specs and features? We'll find out. But first, special thanks to my boys at Best Buy because they hook us up with phones like this that we give to you in the One Paw Bandit game. When you go ahead and get one of these at Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates, messy paperwork, waiting several weeks for your rebates. I hate that. I hate paperwork. I don't like waiting. I'm pretty impatient. So, and I'm sure you might be as well. You don't deal with it at Best Buy Mobile. Don't have to worry about mail-in rebates at Best Buy Mobile. Enough of that, let's get into it. Is it the Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch, or is it the Motorola Photon 4G? We'll find out in the dogfight, which starts right now. You know, I have to really give it to Sprint where credit is due because they have some awesome Android smartphones, and just smartphones period. They've really done a great job over the past year to 2 years of picking up some awesome smartphones and now some awesome Android smartphones. You have two here on the table on the chopping block for a dogfight. The Samsung Epic 4G Touch, or known by its full name as the Samsung Galaxy S2 Epic 4G Touch. I just call it the Ep Touch. So you have the Samsung Ep Touch, then you have the Motorola Photon 4G. Both of these devices are available now at Sprint for $199.99 with a 2-year agreement, but they're packing some killer specs. Now this is a successor to the popular Galaxy S2. You know, the international Galaxy S2 came out. We waited for months and months. Now the US versions are finally coming out, and they're a little bit different, depending on which one you go with. A little bit different than the international versions. This one adds a couple of good goodies. Good goodies, I don't know if you can really say that, but a couple of nice goodies. It has that same dual-core 1.2 gigahertz Exynos processor, so super fast processor over here, but it has a 4.52-inch Super AMOLED display as opposed to the stock 4.3 that comes on the international version. Then it still has an 8-megapixel camera. You'll notice some design changes as well. Of course, it's bigger thanks to the 4.52-inch Super AMOLED Plus display, and then you have an 8-megapixel camera back here that shoots video with 1080p, if you will. Camera's a little bit different looking. Device is a little bit different looking, and it has a bigger battery as well. It has a 1,800 milliamp hour battery. So it has that. It also has 9.6 millimeter form factor, which is super nice front-facing camera, and it's running Android 2.3.4. So gingerbread with Samsung's new TouchWiz user interface version 4.0. Then you have the Motorola Photon 4G over here, another 4G device coming to, or that's available now on Sprint rather. Dual core 1 gigahertz NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor. So you know how much I love the Tegra 2. It's nice to see that as opposed to perhaps the TI OMAP processor, which is still decent, but one that we've seen in other devices like the Droid 3 and the Motorola Droid Bionic. So you have that. You have an 8-megapixel camera on the back of this sucker as well. So you have the quality there, but it only shoots video in 720p as opposed to 1080 over here, so something to keep in mind. You have a front-facing camera on this sucker as well. And then you have Android 2.3.4 also, and it's running Motorola's custom user interface. Don't let them hear you call it Moto Blur because it's not Moto Blur anymore. It's Motorola's applications platform, so MAP for short. And you do get that 4.3-inch display, 540 by 960 pixels over here, 480 by 800 over here. So despite the larger display, still very clear on Samsung's side, and that is needless to say, very, very impressive. So both are running Android 2.3, but let's just look at some of the differences. We'll jump right in and you can look at things like the notification bar, and let's talk a little bit about the user interfaces, because even though they're both running the exact same build of Android, based on custom manufacturer user interfaces, they can look mighty different. You can see here, for example, the notification bar, and you have the shortcuts up top. You have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, sound, and 4G, so you can activate stuff from the notifications bar, which is really nice. You don't get that over here. It's more of a stock kind of Android look, even though Motorola's has this custom blue color scheme to it. Now what I do like is when you get a notification, you get a missed call, you get something like that, you have the ability to delete them individually as opposed to getting the clear button. You still get it up here at the top. But let's say I have 2 missed calls, I have 4 text messages, and I have 5 emails. And I know the emails, I've read the emails, or I want to ignore them or something like that. You know, don't want to read those emails because they're work emails, and heck, you know, it's the weekend, I'm on lunch or something like that. You can delete just the email portion by clicking the red minus sign over here, as opposed to this, you just have to clear them all out at once. So something to keep in mind. But again, TouchWiz 4.0, Motorola's user interface over here, and you'll see some changes. You know, if you're coming from something like the Droid Charge on Verizon or the Infuse 4G, something with TouchWiz 3.0, huge difference over here. Let's see what comes out of the box in this. First of all, you'll notice how quick this device is. I mean, it just moves through everything incredibly fast. There's no lag whatsoever, but you can see you get All Share, you get Books, Google Books, you get Downloads, which is the Android 2.3 thing, you get Keys or Kai's Air, Samsung's Media Hub Nova 2 HD, NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. So you get some Sprint goodies as well, like NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, Sprint Hotspot, Sprint ID, Sprint Mobile Wallet, and then you get Polaris Office and Social Hub, which is another Samsung application. A few more Sprint goodies over here: Music Plus, Radio, TV and Movies, Sprint Zone, and then you get visual voicemail down there at the bottom. Now with Sprint's Everything data plans, you get included access to all of this stuff. So you get free basic Sprint TV channels, you get free basic Sprint Radio, if you will. You get some access to Sprint Zone, and visual voicemail comes included on the Sprint devices. But you see the dock looks a little bit different down here. You can customize the stuff over there in the dock, and then you have 7 home screens, and you can just see. Let me pull it up so that's a little bit easier to access. There we go. How easy it is to access everything and how quick and smooth this device is. It really, really works well, and no lag whatsoever on this device. Then you have the Motorola Photon 4G over here. I gotta roll my sleeves up a little bit because it's getting hot in here with these lights. Motorola Photon 4G, as you can see, running Android 2.3 with Motorola's custom user interface. And then you can see, yeah, I thought you might want some extra arm hair there. You're welcome. And then you can see over here, a little bit different because we've reviewed the Bionic and things like that in the past. You can see that there are some menu interface differences. For example, this scrolls down in traditional Android format. It scrolls up and down as opposed to left and right like the Bionic does and like the Droid 3. So a little bit of a different customization there. You also get 7 home screens on this one as opposed to the stock 5, and I was using the wrong gesture there. I have to press the home button and zoom out that way. But you get 7 home screens on both of these, and it's still very fast over here, but there is a little bit of a lag, a little bit of a stutter, kind of a stereotypical Android stutter on this, where it just seems a little bit slow. You can see how it's not, I mean, it's moving fast, don't get me wrong, but it's just a little laggy as opposed to how quick and easy the transitions are over here on the UpTouch. But you can see 7 home screens, like I said, and then it's installed out of the box. In this one you get Motorola's accounts, formerly known, like I said, as Moto Blur, a bunch of stuff that I pre-installed. The Geico Bro Stash might be the best app in the Android market. Go check that out and have some fun with that if you haven't already. And then you have Google Books on this one as well. You have a mobile hotspot, and scroll down through here. You have Quick Office. You have all the Sprint stuff, Sprint ID, Sprint Mobile Wallet. So interestingly enough, both of these devices come with Sprint ID, which I thought was kind of interesting because they're both very high-end devices. And originally I assumed that Sprint ID was only going to come to kind of the low-end and mid-range Android phones. So it's an interesting change, that's for sure. But Sprint Music Plus, Sprint Radio, TV and Movies, Sprint Zone, and Sprint Worldwide. Now the benefit to this one is it does have a SIM card slot in the back, so it's capable of global roaming. So if you travel to Italy a lot, you travel to Russia, you travel to Australia, you're just a globetrotter and an international jet setter, this is the device for you because it's a high-end Android device, but you can pop in that SIM card or use Sprint's international services and you're good to go when you travel overseas. If you have something like this, which apparently I'm going to break and knock off the table and all that stuff, you're going to have to switch to something else, either the Photon or maybe the BlackBerry Bold 9930 when you travel, because CDMA and WiMAX don't work in Europe and several other places around the world. So that's a benefit if you're a traveler. The Photon may be the one for you, but quite a few Sprint pre-installed applications on both of these. Now fortunately they can be uninstalled across the board. Sprint does allow for the removal of the applications, which is a nice little touch as opposed to some of the other carriers that make you leave the bloatware on, but you can see just comparing, that's about what you get on the device. So let's take a look at the keyboards on both of these devices because again, even though they're both running Android 2.3, there are quite a few differences in the software and in the overall way that they look. So we'll load these both up and you can see different keyboard, different text messaging interface. And one thing I was disappointed to see that the Epic 4G Touch didn't come with was the ability, like the international one had, where you could customize the way the text messages look. You could customize the color of the bubbles, you could add some themes. With this one, all you can do is change the size of the font. So a little bit of a disappointment, but that's okay. Still a bigger display over here. You can see this comes with Samsung's keypad and then swipe as well. So if swipe's your thing, you have that pre-installed. And Samsung's keypad honestly is not actually one of my least favorite Android keyboards, stock Android keyboards, if you will, that comes with a manufacturer's device. We'll go ahead and do the Quick Brown Fox. I think I might keep it boring today, guys. Quick Brown Fox jumped over the lazy dog. So one little spelling error, but overall pretty easy to type on. Now I have the autocorrection turned off. I don't care for the way Samsung's keyboard handles autocorrection. So you may love it, you may hate it, but I don't care for the keyboard. There are a few third-party alternatives in the market. You have SwiftKey, you have Gingerbread Keyboard, some of which are free, some of which go all the way up to about $4.99 or $5.99 depending on which keyboard you're interested in. But because it has a nice long 4.5-inch display, for people with large thumbs it's going to be super easy to type in landscape mode. Then you have this over here on the Photon, you have the Motorola's multi-touch keyboard, which actually is my favorite Android keyboard on the market. So you can say the Quick Brown is very happy to see you. Very happy indeed. So once you get used to it, pretty quick and easy to type on. 4.3-inch display over here, so a little bit smaller, but still even in landscape mode, the keys are nice and large and easy to type on. Now it has, we'll go in here so you can see, input method. It has swipe as well. So swipe is your thing, you got that, and you got it pre-installed on the device. Got a tweet up there, so I was kind of curious to see what that was. But you can see keyboards are great on both devices, but the award goes to the Epic 4G Touch or the Ep Touch because of the larger display, which makes it easier to type on.